All right, guys, so we've had dinner. We're having a couple of quiet sherbets by the campfire, and we've decided to do a little bit of a Q&A on a few different Jimny-related topics. So I threw up on my Instagram, and if you haven't subscribed to my or followed my Instagram account, it's just the Mighty Jimny. With the I just kind of like ask me a question kind of thing. So a few of you have come back and thrown some questions up for Sam and I to answer in our own unique perspective on owning Jimneys and camping and all that kind of stuff, because we both approach it from different ways, even though we both enjoy camping and full driving and stuff like that probably equally. We do it from a different kind of way. So what we'll do is we'll start with a couple of these questions. So first and foremost, I reckon we'll start with where are we? We'll start with Luke from Wildfire Touring. So first off, g'day Luke, and if you haven't checked out Luke's Instagram page, he also designs his own shirts and everything like that. So you've seen me wearing his shirts in my last video and whatnot. Absolutely fantastic and cool design, so support a local. But his question was, destinations in WA you're wanting or planning on going on to camp or explore in the near future. So what do you reckon, Sam?
I would like to do another run of Margaret River.
Yep.
I think as much as I've done it already, I think doing it again maybe a little bit slower, like taking a little bit more time to go through everything would be awesome. But places that I haven't gone, Exmouth. Everyone talks about it and all that
for
stuff,
sure. Yeah.
That's probably the thing that I think I would like to suss out the most in WA, is probably that sort of area, just since it gets so much hype, like, because everyone seems to think that it's a pretty jazzy place or something, so that could be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think the places I'd like to go, I mean, look, I've obviously got quite a few plans with the channel, and the places that I'd like to film, places I'd like just to go camping just because I enjoy camping. But certainly I'd love to do a multiple day run down past Margaret River all the way down to Esperance. And I was even thinking the other day, actually, and I'm not sure if I messaged you about this one, but like a 2-week series called From Exmouth to Esperance, or Esperance to Exmouth, whichever way you want to go. But then like going through different places all the way up the coast, from two of the most popular kind of areas for West Australians to travel within our own state, and also for people coming from interstate and overseas. Really, really lovely areas, and I've gone all the way down to Exmouth before, and I've gone all the way up to all the way up to Exmouth before, and all the way down to Esperance, but I've never done it in one run.
That would be a pretty cool trip.
Yeah. So as like a 2-week, even potentially 3-week run, I reckon that would be pretty fun.
Yeah, that'd be great, yeah.
I think the other places I'd like to go would be Moore River.
North of the city?
Go up that way. That would be pretty fun.
That'd be pretty good, yeah.
I've heard that you can drive like pretty much in the river for quite a while, all the way down. A couple of the guys that I follow on YouTube for West Australian stuff, in particular, Wacker, West Australian Camping Adventures with Pete. He's been to some absolutely magic spots around WA, and I won't lie in saying that I draw a bit of inspiration from his stuff. So yeah, that's definitely a few of the places I'd like to go. In the near future, I reckon, look, I and Sam are going away for work, so we don't really have a great deal of time up our sleeve, but I think at the end of the year, I'm probably going to do maybe a trip down to Warren, which I'd love to do down there, and I think that would be a good run for the two Jimnys to go down there, actually. That would be really good fun.
Another run of Stirling National Park towards Albany.
Yep.
It's probably about an hour outside of Albany, has got some beautiful like mountains and stuff that would be great to do, like even hiking stuff. But
yeah, for sure.
Probably not so, like obviously getting the Jimnys there and camping out would still be on the cards, but not so much forward driving and everything. But that'd be pretty cool. I'd like to do some more of those.
Awesome. All right. So another question. What have we got here? Jimmy's Jimny, over in Queensland. First off, g'day Jimmy. He's got a really cool YouTube channel, so check it out if you have not yet. and he's been doing a few reviews lately of things like a little travel mate pie warmer and whatnot in the back of the.
Oh, cool.
So I'm really tempted to get. So the new drawer system that I've put in, that spot just in front of the top of the drawers there would be absolutely magic for one of those. But there comes a point though that I go, oh God, what am I doing?
Do I need it?
Do I really need it? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes, I do need it. But apart from that, I think, so his question is, when will you be making the trip over to Queensland for a camp? Well, funnily enough, our work was meant to take us into Queensland in the next month or two.
Yeah.
And the plan was to actually try and meet up with a couple of Jimny owners and all that. But unfortunately, Uncle COVID has kind of put the kibosh on that, which means that I'm not sure if that's going to happen. But certainly, look, when there's an opportunity, when I'm not working and everything like that, I think the two places interstate that I'd like to go the most with the Jimny would be to do the drive across the Nullarbor to Adelaide and then up to Darwin through the centre. I think that would be fantastic. Look, one of the limitations of the Jimny is the range on it, so that's a bit tough. But the other place I'd love to go is Tassie. Tasmania.
Oh, Tassie would be awesome, yeah.
It's God's country down there. So if you haven't been to Tassie, it is the closest that we get to those emerald green European type forests sometimes, I reckon. Absolutely beautiful. Going up to Mount Wellington and Cradle Mountain and stuff like that, really, really nice. But yes, Jimmy, as soon as possible, mate. I'd love to get up there. Where would you like to go in Australia other than... I mean, you're from Victoria, yeah?
No,
New South Wales, yeah?
Yeah. Recently, before living in Victoria, which was before I came here, I grew up and did most of my high school years in New South Wales. And I think Tassie would be awesome. I've only ever gone once. I think Tasmania is beautiful. Outside of that, though, the big one that I'm going to do, which is completely outside of Australia, is New Zealand.
Yeah.
I think taking a Jimny to New Zealand or hiring a Jimny over there or something.
Yeah, I think hiring would be the way to go, yeah.
Would change the whole game, I reckon. The amount of stuff that you could do. You know, I've been to New Zealand before and it's probably, other than Australia, the most beautiful country I've ever visited. But the camping side of it would be wicked.
Oh, yeah.
It was more kind of the sightseeing thing. I reckon the camping stuff would be insane.
Actually, a friend of ours, funnily enough, called Jimmy, he went to Canada and was camping right on the edge of lakes over there and inlets and just having an absolute ball, doing hammock camping and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so if I was to go outside of Australia, Japan. The home of Jimnys. I'd absolutely love to go over to, especially in Japan, and catch up with Jimny owners over there, because the wild stuff that these guys are doing with Jimnys over there is phenomenal.
Where it's from and everything, where it's getting manufactured.
Yeah. I reckon it'd be great for sure.
Yeah.
But no, apart from that though, yeah. Look, obviously the biggest limitation these days is the old COVID. But yeah, when an opportunity presents itself, we'll definitely get up there. All right, so a local fella, Sam, who has the Instagram Jimny74, spelt JMNY_74. He was down at our
White Hills run.
The White Hills run. So he got interviewed with his very, very strong beard game, Leonidas-styled beard. And he's got a kinetic yellow Jimny as well, and a really cool setup. So he's got lots of plans for that base. So go check out his Instagram. But he's got a couple of questions for us. Have you had any issues with your Jimny yet?
No, not really. Not really. So obviously the Jimny's is relatively new for me.
So how long you had yours?
I've only had mine for about a month now, or just coming up to a month.
Now, at some stage, I'm going to be doing a full interview walk around with Sam with his rig. It was something that we didn't do down at White Hills. Because we wanted to do it kind of separately away from that group. But yeah, we'll go over all of those things eventually. But yeah, so have you had any quirks about your car that you haven't worked out yet?
The only thing that I think I wish was a bit different about it, which I've mentioned to you before, is side roads or something coming onto a highway. Sometimes it's a little bit scary. You like drive, you jump on or whatever, and you're cruising along, and these cars behind you in the rearview mirror just fly by. It sort of gets a little bit.
Used to be a joke. The turbo button on the Jimny was turning your aircon off,
Yeah.
and there was that meme that went around, which was divert all power from life support systems to the. But look, at the end, I think one of the things with that is that they are you're not going to get done speeding in a Jimny, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But
other than that, I can't rate it enough. I don't have any problems with it either. Thank you again, Sam, as well, by the way, for the cup holders. They go swimmingly in the Jimny.
I'm jealous. With mine, apart from the fact there's a recall out at the moment for fuel pumps, apparently
that's right.
Yeah, you've got to sort that out too, mate. Apparently the fuel pump on the Jimny's got an issue, so that's being recalled at the moment. So mine goes in on Friday. The only issue that I had when I first got it, so the background of mine is, I'm pretty sure I went through this on my first video, was I was one of the first people in Western Australia to pick one up. I think I was like second or third person to get it, and so I got it on release. I'd pre-ordered before the actual release of the Jimny, and early on in the piece, there was a grinding noise that would come when you started when you were like, the car was kind of like under load in the first and second gear, and you kind of get a bit of a grinding noise. And from memory, it was the transfer chain or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm a Sparky, not a mechanic, but so there was that issue. And the other issue that is pretty common is a leaking cylinder on the leaking slave cylinder on the clutch, I believe, or something along those lines. Any issues though? Look, like issues in regards to things I don't like about the car. I will do a long-term Jimny owners. Oh, she's kicking off.
Yeah,
now.
it is. It's lovely.
Get some. I will do a long-term Jimny owners review at some stage. One of the big things with the Jimny is that when you buy one, you have to be very aware of the fact that you're buying a Jimny. You're not buying a mini Land Cruiser. You're not buying a hatchback or any of those kinds of things. You're buying a Jimny, and the Jimny's got its limitations. In particular, things like the size of the car and like Sam was saying, in regards to the power that it's putting out and all those kinds of things. But for the most part, I've had no issues with the car. Look, the Jimny's one of my favourite cars of all time. So yeah, but yeah, no, that's about it really. Okay, so most expensive mod you have done. So with yours, you've picked yours up with a lot of the mods already done.
A lot of the mods already done. So the only thing that I've really added, the only two things that I've really added to it are the BF Goodrich all-terrain tyres and the Dune 2 metre by 2 metre awning. They're the only things that I've done to it myself. I'll fix that up in a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, because obviously, like when I bought mine with the ARB, bull bar and the spotties, and it already had the roof rack, the lift done to it, the tow ball. Like I literally, it was an absolute steal getting that car. Chucking the all-terrains on it were a very good choice though. I'm gonna muck around with this a little bit while you chat.
For me, look, obviously I've had mine since stock, so the car, I've done quite a few different things. I will be doing it at some stage. I will be doing a full update walk around on the different mods that I've done, because I've done quite a bit in recent times. By far the most expensive mod would have been the front bar and intensity spotlights. When I got them done, I think they cost me about $3,500 together to be put on. Apart from that, we often make the joke about four-wheel driving that buying things in four-wheel driving comes in units.
Yeah.
And each unit is $1,000. So you're looking at, about $3,500 for the front bar. The awning and roof rack setup was about $2,000 in total. But the other thing was, the Ironman 4x4 lift, which was in total about $1,800. So yeah, they're the expensive kind of things done. There's a few kind of expensive things that I'd like to do in the future. Hey, can you move that GoPro back a touch, mate? I think it's a bit close to that fire.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a few other little things in the future that I'll do as well. But for the most part, yeah, they're about the most expensive things. All right, Sam also asked, what's the most basic mod that I've done? Well, the most basic mod that I've done was the center console little accessory that I kind of put in, and I made the joke that, you know, I've now lived my life in two parts. My Jimny life in two parts: the pre-center console comfort and post-center console comfort. And I tell you what, while it's basic, it's
changed the game.
It's changed the game for me. Like, I love it. Yeah, it's something to lean on, and it has taken up my my cup holders, unfortunately. So I'll have to try and source a couple of those cup holders that you got off Sam.
That would be my most basic mod as well. But they are 100% a game changer now. Instead of reaching back to, grab whatever sort of
they're not in the best
Icebreaker
position,
or Red
are
Bull,
they?
or something you've got in your cup holders. I've now got those nice cup holders that sit right, sort of right in front of you next to the steering wheel.
And you
Perfect
use your
spot as
other
well.
one for your radio, don't you?
I use that one for my radio because I don't normally have a drink in the car or something. And they're just I do quite like drinking ice breaks. I'm a big fan of them, and they're actually just a little bit too small to fit it, so I end up having to put the ice break in the other cup holder there. Anyway, so my radio just sits in there, and which is
sell
awesome.
the car.
Sell the car.
Get rid of it. All right. What else we got here? Okay. Now I don't know how to say this name. Chippo Popaluzuk. How do you say that? What do you reckon?
Chipper plus Zook. I don't know, I'm not sure.
I don't know. Alright, what made you pick a Jimny? Did you always want one, or did you have one in the past?
Well, for me, I've been looking at four-wheel drives for ages now. I just didn't get around to it. I was just lazy. And it was possibly, maybe in the end, a little bit of an impulsive decision to go, get the loan or whatever to do it. But I was looking at, like, four-wheel drive wise, remember I was saying to you, Tritons, Hiluxes, or Jimnys, I think, and I said it originally. And then obviously the more time I spent probably hanging out with you and doing, the Mighty Jimny channel and all that sort of stuff, the more exposure I had to them, and then the more I looked into the channels and, like, all that sort of stuff, and then reading the forums on them, and I thought, oh, actually, maybe these are worth it. And, everyone's got a Triton and a Hilux or whatever. You can talk to heaps of people about it, but there's a very cool uniqueness about having a Jimny, which is probably one of the little tickets as well. And then, like, obviously you were there. We did that first drive in that car, and I was pretty much like, yep, I'm leaving with that, which was the best decision ever, because every single day I look at that car in the garage, and I just think I can't wait to drive that tomorrow.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
every single day, I just love it.
I think for myself, look, I've owned 2 Jimnys now, and I used to drive a Sierra as well, that my grandfather let me drive around early on in the piece. And part of the reason why I got a Jimny was I wasn't even really thinking about it. I had a 2006 model Jimny, and it was like a silver one that I picked up for an absolute steal, actually. And the reason why I picked that one up was, funnily enough, Jimmy had picked a 2001 model one up, and he'd come around to my place one day to have a couple of beers. And at the time, I was about to sell. What did I have? Oh, that's right. I had an X Trail. And I wanted to get rid of the X Trail and buy a better SUV, but then I also wanted to buy like a little fun car as well to have. And when Jimmy had come around with the Jimny, the 2001 model, I was like, oh, this is a beast, absolute cool car. And within maybe a couple of weeks to maybe a month or so, I had pulled the trigger, and I started hunting for them. And I remember when I bought that one, I'd been looking everywhere. I don't know if I told you this story actually. I've been looking everywhere, and they were kind of hard to get. And my rules that I wanted was I wanted it to be as close to 10 grand as possible. I wanted it to be as fewer Ks as possible, and I wanted it to be as young as possible. And not be completely thrashed, which is, I think is a fairly reasonable
thing for anyone to sort of want when they're looking for a car.
I wasn't asking for the world. But anyway, I remember one had come up, and it was this green one, and one had come up on a Gumtree ad, and I'd gone, and it was sitting at a dealership, and I gave this guy a call, and from memory it had done 120,000 Ks, it was a 2006-ish model, and it had nothing done to it. And I gave this dealership a call, and he wanted $11,500 or $12,000 for this thing.
Yeah.
And I gave this dealership a call, and I'm like, look, I've got 10 grand burning a hole in my pocket. I'll come buy it off you right now, cash. And he's like, nah. He goes, you are not going to find a car this good. And I'm like, oh, I reckon I will. And he's like, no, you're not going to find a car this good. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, all right, well, on your bike, mate, you've lost the sale. And this guy's like adamant that I wasn't going to find one any good. Anyway, no word of a lie, I reckon 12 minutes later, I was sitting there just hitting refresh on Gumtree, and this mine came up, and this guy was selling it, and he wanted $7.5 grand for it. And when I'd bought it, it had done 65,000 Ks.
Jeepers.
It already had the ARB front bar on it. It had Narvis spotties on it. It had a Wan winch.
Oh, jeepers.
Oh, yeah. And I'm like...
$7 grand.
For $7.5 grand, I'm thinking to myself, what's wrong with it?
Yeah.
You know? So anyway, I went and found this guy, and I'm like, right, what's the go with this car? And he's like, oh, look, it really needs a wheel alignment, so on and so forth, and, well, I need to get rid of it. And this guy was also like 7 foot tall, was like a huge Norwegian fella. And it turned out the reason why it had so few Ks was because it had been the tender car that he had, the trailer car that he'd had on the back of his RV, and he was going around the country with his missus, and they'd finished their trip and basically wanted to get rid of the car because it wasn't worth using anymore.
Yeah.
So it had probably been around the country, like it'd probably done 150,000 Ks, but not under its own steam. It was just towed behind this...
Behind the
but
RV?
it was on a trailer.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
So it wasn't even doing, it wasn't even rolling. So in the end, I've gone to this guy. I said, look, I'll give you $7 grand cash for it right now. And he goes, yep, done. Right? And I'm like, all right. He goes, you sure? And I didn't even test drive it.
Yeah.
And he's like, you sure you want it? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, look, it really kind of needs a wheel alignment. And I already knew in the back of my mind the reason why this guy was getting rid of the car. So old Jimny's had this habit of this thing called death wobble. Where if your kingpins weren't shimmed properly...
Yeah, you've told me this,
Yeah, then all of a sudden you'd get this, horrific shudder in the wheel, and it would make your steering wheel try and jump out of your hand. And this guy obviously was experiencing this because it did have a terrible death wobble, and didn't realise what it was. And I've gone, yeah, cool. And he goes to me after I'd signed the paper, and he goes, hang on, you know what's wrong with it, don't you? I'm like, yeah, I do. And he's like, well, well done.
Got him.
But in the end, the reason why I went with the JB74 was I had a bit of extra money there, and I was searching the internet one day for mods and whatnot for the Jimny that I had, and I saw this leaked photo of these, and I'm like, oh, this is in like 2018. I'm like, oh, I've got to get one of them. And so I went down to the local Suzuki dealership, and I gave the guy 10 grand and said, look, put one on pre-order for me. And at that stage, I didn't even know how much they were going to be.
Yeah.
And in the end, they were like 27 grand, and that was brilliant. And now
they're 40.
they're not. Now they're 40 grand. So that one. Now, there was one more question that we got from someone on one of the Facebook pages. Unfortunately, I didn't save your name, so my apologies. I didn't save your name, but so whoever you were, I am thinking of you. And that was, what is your favourite four-wheel drive track in Western Australia?
Oh, that's a tough one for me because I haven't done enough of it yet. So I'm going to have to say here in Lane Pool Reserve, WA, because it's the only one I've done, and that was the other day.
Enjoy
down the track.
the full drive beach?
Yeah, I did. I did think it was pretty cool. I had to sort of walk away a little bit upset since we did that one little. Obviously, there was the awesome moment where we all split off and were like ants running over hills and stuff. But you know, when everyone was going off that outside track and I couldn't quite get up it, I was a little bit upset about that. I had a little bit of a sook in my brand new $40,000 car. But other than that, like the stuff here, I think is a little bit more my taste, as I kind of like being around the trees. The only problem is when you are trying to sort of four-wheel drive and you're trying to hook it up something and then it slips a little bit, my brain just immediately goes, oh no, here we go. And there's too many, you know, you got the trees on either side that you're probably going to bump into and put some scratches in. But that's what they're for. There's only so long you can kind of keep it looking neat and new before it just...
I mean, you don't have to crash it. But at the same time, look, you're going to get trees that will like, scratch. Like, you know, obviously you don't want to run into them and do actual damage to the car. But for the most part, I think if you think that you're going to keep like and go out and do proper full driving and do, you know, any of these kinds of things, and you think that you're going to keep a pristine car forever,
you're a fool.
Then yeah, you're kidding yourself. That being said, you also, you know, a car that you maintain and look after and clean and all of those kinds of things is going to look after you as much as you look after it. If you make sure that it's serviced regularly, you make sure that you don't purposely bash it into things and everything like that. I mean, look, when it comes down to my favourite track, I would have to say I do enjoy beach driving.
Yeah.
I do. I really do. I've been up to Lancelin. I haven't done it in this one yet, but been up to things like Lancelin. I've been down to Bremer Bay. Actually, Bremer Bay is really nice. You'd love it down there.
Yeah.
And things like that, down towards the beaches and the kind of like just off the dunes and through stuff like that, which is really good. I've done Mundaring Power Lines. There's actually a video for that one, so the link will come up here. I'll edit that in. Like and subscribe. And things like that. I really do like this, the Murray River Fire Line. This is relatively close to where Sam and I live, and we're able to get down here in a few hours and really, you know, enjoy ourselves. My big thing is I don't like the idea of rock crawling kind of full driving. Like I like the idea of going through some challenging obstacles and technical tracks and things like that. I've done Captain Fawcett track quite a few times now, and I've done you know, the Murray River Fire Line and all those kinds of things. But when it comes down to doing things in a full drive just for the sake of driving over it, that's not really my cup of tea. My big thing is, I do like getting out and full driving, even if I'm not going to go camping, but more than anything else, my big thing is I love to go on a track that's going to get me to a cool campsite like this and enjoy myself there.
Yeah, exactly right. I'd have to agree with that, yeah. That's what I'm for too.
And I think the big difference, like, is, especially with the Jimny, is that you can go down some of those narrow tracks, some of those, you know, hard to get into kind of tracks where you can get in and you can find yourself some pretty cool spots.
Yeah. Well, I didn't buy a four-wheel drive either to go out four-wheel driving with mates. I bought a four-wheel drive so I can get to those tricky camp spots that, you know, you 100%. Can't get in a Volkswagen Golf or something.
Yeah, 100%. But I mean, look, for the most part, I think one of the advantages of a Jimny is as a camping four-wheel drive, there's a few disadvantages. I mean, space and weight and all those kinds of things are probably, and the range of the vehicle are probably the main disadvantages. But the advantages come from the fact of, you know, it is a very capable little four-wheel drive. So if you do come across those technical tracks and you do come across those obstacles that you've got to give it the berries to actually get through, I think that you can get through them. And you know, I've done plenty of technical stuff. I mean, if you have a look at my Mundaring Power Lines one, or even my Captain Fawcett track one, you know, they're not, you know, they're not just dirt tracks. They're full driving tracks, you know, and especially the second half of the Mundaring power lines is very technical. But there's a lot of stuff in the Mundaring power lines track which is purely just, torn apart rock crawler type, stuff. And those kinds of tracks don't really interest me all that much. There's a few guys out there that are doing some really amazing full drive work with their Jimneys, but generally speaking, I don't really subscribe to that kind of full driving. I like the idea of camping and going somewhere.
Yeah. I'd agree.
Yeah.
100%.
And if I'm not going to camp, I prefer to go down the beach and go fishing or something.
Yeah. I'm not so much into beach camping. I've done it a couple of times or whatever. I don't think it's the worst, but I don't think it compares at all to coming out to something like this. Like, I think being next to a river that you can swim in, but then also having the shelter of the trees or whatever, I think that already trumps swimming in the salt ocean or whatever. But that's just me. Like, I'm not a big fan of the camping on the beach and stuff.
I think the thing about camping on the beach is if you can find a good secluded
heaps of
flat beach with dunes and things like that, it's good. The problem in WA is the wind.
Yeah, exactly right.
You just get sandblasted the whole time, and I mean you can go to places like Sandy Cape and Lancelin and everything like that. But if you want some really good beach camping, I reckon the best place to go is Esperance.
Yeah.
Going down there, but you've got to do it in summer because if you don't, it's bloody freezing.
Yeah.
And so you've got to be careful, and that's the other thing with beach camping as well, is it's pretty much limited to summer. If you go beach camping anywhere south of kind of Geraldton really in winter, it's just too cold.
Yeah.
Far too cold. Whereas out here, we're loving it.
Yeah, this is great. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's not too cold. Even though we've had a bit of rain and everything like that in the last couple of days, and the tracks are pretty moist.
Yeah.
We've got some good footage on the way in, hitting the tracks, going through some bog holes there. But one of the things about it though is that you do have the windbreak from the trees.
Yeah.
You're down in the valley a little bit, which is really good. So yeah, it's not too bad. And you also don't have sand everywhere.
Pelting your face and getting in your drinks and stuff and in your food.
Yeah, in your swag.
The only sort of thing you've really got to worry about here, I guess, is bugs. But even, like moths and stuff. But even then, they leave you alone. Like,
yeah, wear your bug spray.
Yeah.
Just be aware that, I think the thing is there's bugs and you go down the beach, you still got march flies and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, no, I definitely would say when it comes down to the 4-drive tracks and stuff like that, then I'd probably put this one as one of my favourites.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Have you got any questions?
Not that we haven't probably already spoken about. So I can't, off the top of my head, maybe not.
Have you got any plans for your Jimny in the near future? I guess we'll probably cover that in our interview.
Yeah, we'll do that in the interview, yeah.
Yeah.
I've only got sort of one real big thing that I want to do to it, but that'll wait till we get back.
Yeah, for sure.
We finish work after work.
Oh, well. All right, guys. Well, look, there's a little bit of a Q&A for you. If you've got any more questions, please leave a comment below, and I'll answer them. I'm probably going to do a little Q&A once a quarter, I guess. Probably every 10 videos or so.
Yeah.
I'll sit down and Sam and I will be doing a fair bit of camping together actually in the next couple of years, I imagine.
Yeah.
I'll make sure that we'll visit every now and then and do a bit of a Q&A. But yeah, look, we're going to spend the rest of this evening listening to some tunes and eating pistachios and
trying to keep the fire going.
Keep the fire going and keeping ourselves warm with a few sherbies. Ah, well, enjoy, and I reckon we'll see you in the morning when it's bacon and eggs time.
Yeah, perfect.
All right,
thanks
enjoy.
Thanks for listening to us chat rubbish.
Cheers.
Time for another drink.
Time for a drink. Rightio guys, we're all done here down at Dwellingup for our overnight camp run. It's been a fantastic little overnighter. We have a fair bit of rain, the tracks have been nice and wet, a little bit of forward driving, a bit of a Q&A by the campfire. So first off mate, thanks very much.
Thank you. Cheers. Thanks
Had a great time, and don't forget, like, subscribe if you enjoy the content. There's going to be more coming soon. Another couple of camping trips, some gear reviews, some installs for the spotlights and all sorts of things. So keep an eye out, hit that notification bell. More of my content's going to be coming soon. Thanks guys, enjoy, and we'll see you next time on the trails.